Joining Nina Trentmann, who is the news editor for CFO Journal, is Gerard Araud, the ambassador of France to the United States, Sir Kim Darroch, the British ambassador to the U.S., and Boris Ruge, the Minister and Deputy Chief of Mission, Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany in Washington. Please welcome them.
Welcome to the stage. Welcome to CFO Network. Maybe we'll start with you, Ambassador Darroch. Unfortunate place for you to be in as the British representative here. Theresa May on Thursday lost her majority and failed to succeed a mandate for Brexit. What does that mean for her, or for the British government's stance on Brexit, and also the timing of when negotiations are about to start? They were initially supposed to start on June 19th.
Easy questions first, eh?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you. Look, first of all, it's important to remember that Theresa May and the Conservatives got the largest number of votes and the largest number of seats, though, as you say, fell short of a majority by a few seats. They are now negotiating with the Ulster Unionists, the DUP, on what I think will be a loose alliance rather than a formal coalition. They had a constructive round of talks today, more talks coming soon. I'm optimistic that they will do a deal fairly soon, and that will take them over the 326 votes that you need for the parliamentary majority. That will put them up to 328. So it's not the first time in recent years that we have had this sort of government. I mean, it was a formal coalition from 2010 to 2015. But I don't know, we seem to be in a period in the UK when our politics is becoming a bit more continental. And of course, if you were sitting on the continent, if you watch continental politics, coalition governments are a perfectly normal feature of life over there. And the one that we had from 2010 to 2015 was stable and successful and delivered, and I'm confident that this government will too.
Mr. Ruge, I was attending a dinner on Thursday, like one day ahead of the election, or on the election day, one day ahead of when results came out on Thursday in London, where I was joined by German business executives that were all cheering when the news came out that there was potentially a hung parliament in the UK, because people were thinking and saying, oh, maybe that means that actually like a hard Brexit, as we've heard before, might not happen. It might actually mean that the UK could remain in the single market. It could not leave the customs union as it was appearing before. How is that from a German perspective, also from a German business perspective? What are you hearing? And are people hoping in Germany that there's going to be like a softer Brexit than initially thought we would get?
Well, I hesitate to comment on the domestic politics in the United Kingdom, and it seems to me that it's an election result that is difficult to read in some ways. It may not be, however, a resounding endorsement of a tough line. But more importantly, the German position remains, and the EU position remains, that of the 27 remaining EU member states, that we want the closest possible relationship with the United Kingdom.
How was that in France, Ambassador Araud? What are you hearing with regards to French businesses reacting to the outcome of the British election, and also this perceived change in the potential negotiation position that the British government could go for?
I don't know about the French business community, but as a diplomat, I would say that our strong interest, the EU interest, would have been to have a strong and stable UK government, because the negotiation, which will be extremely difficult, technically and politically, so we want to have a stable interlocutor able to deliver. So I do hope that Mrs. May will be able to form this government and to have this strong majority.
I guess one thing is clear, independent of like what the actual outcome will be, that like the change will also mean changes for businesses, business for CFOs, changes for all sorts of international companies that have invested in the UK, in Europe, and also that are looking to do so. Let's go to a poll question. which is looking at a potential investment in the UK. So it says ahead of Britain's 2019 exit from the European Union, what do you as CFOs plan to do? A, invest less in the UK, invest more in the UK, or invest in other EU member states instead, or D, make no changes at all. Yeah, please vote. Whilst people are responding, let me get back to you, Ambassador Araud. Your capital, Paris, is supposed to be one of the cities benefiting from Brexit, as is Frankfurt, where Mr. Ruge, that Mr. Ruge is representing. How is that from a French perspective to see that, well, you'll be benefiting, but at the same time also from a security point of view, France think that like Britain's exit from the EU would also be negative for European security. How are you squaring that?
First, I think the first fundamental point is we are very sad about Brexit. It's a lose-lose situation. Nobody is going to make Brexit a success because Brexit is a disaster. We are going to try to manage it the best way, and of course it will be managed in the interest of both sides. And the result of the negotiation, we hope that the result of the negotiation will define a swift, fruitful, and effective relationship between the European Union and the UK.
We now have the, just to quickly get that in, we have the results from our poll saying that 60% make or plan to make no changes, around 9% to invest less in the UK, 18% more in the UK. Mr. Derek, like a short reaction to that, and also to this question of like, do you fear or do you think that like there could be the possibility that after Brexit, the UK could be less of a bridgehead for US firms into Europe, which it has been in the past?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the poll is quite interesting, and it's quite encouraging that 60% are saying no change and 18% are saying invest more, which is more than twice as much as saying invest less. It's interesting and encouraging figures. But actually they bear out what we are hearing when we talk to business in this country about their plans. Of course there is some caution. Of course businesses hate uncertainty. But a lot of people do seem prepared to bear with us and see how things turn out.
What do you say to like American CFOs or also to business people to whom, of course, you have to explain that, well, depending on how the outcome of Brexit is, there could be potential trade hurdles between the UK and other European markets with which these American firms are also trading. Going forward, like some of the advantages you describe are currently in place, but some of that, of course, is likely to change after Brexit.
We're saying to them that we understand how uncertainty is damaging for their business and why they dislike it so much. We're saying that the objective of the negotiations is to have this deep and special relationship, an ambitious free trade agreement covering both goods and services, because that's our approach.
Yeah, well, it remains to be seen, I guess. Nobody in this room, I guess, has a glass ball to look into. One of the last questions that I have before we open it to you and to the guests, Mr. Derek, one of the issues around the Brexit vote has been immigration and the concern on the British side that there was too much immigration from EU member states. At the same time, the British economy is relying hugely on EU nationals that are working for British businesses. How do you see that going forward with, on the one side, like the desire of the May government to reduce immigration, at the same time also then seeing that the British economy needs some immigration in order to keep running at the speed that you described before?
Yeah, I think it's beyond argument that immigration was one of the key issues in the debate about membership of the EU that took place in the run-up to the vote in June last year. And I think it is likely that it was one of the main factors in 52% of the British people voting to leave. And I just recall that the main campaign slogan of the Leave campaign was about regaining control of the borders, the feeling that with free movement you didn't actually have, in the end, as a national government, the final say over how many people came in or left.
Well, Brexit is a critical issue, very important for U.S. business. Gentlemen, thank you for a fascinating discussion. Nina,
Thank you.
thank you very much.